The service elevator carried the steady rattle of old machinery and the sharp scent of bleach mingling with yesterday's lunch. Around me, waiters in crisp shirts marched like a well-practiced army, juggling trays, crystal buckets, and whispered instructions. None of them spared a second glance at the quiet woman in a simple black Chanel dress, none realizing she was the one who signed their paychecks. First time working the penthouse? A young server asked kindly when he noticed me pause, mistaking my silence for nerves. Something like that, I said, adjusting the modest string of pearls at my throat, the same ones I'd worn last year while signing the contract that had placed this very hotel under my company's name. He leaned in conspiratorially. Watch out for the Ashworths. They're tough, especially the daughter, already made 3 people cry tonight. Ah, yes. My future daughter-in-law, Miss Victoria Ashworth. The same Victoria whose upcoming engagement to self-made investment banker Michael Chen was splashed across every glossy magazine, complete with a list of elite guests and society family highlights. Curiously, they always forgot to mention one small detail: the groom's inconveniently self-made mother. The kitchen, when I stepped into it, was pure choreography under pressure, steam hissing, metal clattering, voices layered over voices, and in the center stood Victoria like a general in couture, her designer dress gleaming under the fluorescent lights, worth more than my first year's salary back before I owned my first company. No, 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 she snapped, glaring at a visibly trembling pastry chef. The macarons are pink, not rose gold. The whole color palette is ruined. Is there a problem here? I asked, my tone deliberately calm, soft enough to sound polite, sharp enough to make her turn. She whipped around, all polished hair and irritation. Who are you? Where's your uniform? Jessica Chen, Michael's mother. Recognition sparked across her perfect features, followed by the faint flicker of distaste. Oh, right. Michael said you might come early. To help. Her gaze skimmed over my dress before tightening into a smile. The staff entrance was supposed to take you straight to the back. It did, I said lightly, enjoying her confusion. Though I imagined I'd be greeting guests with my son, not cutlery. Just then, a graceful figure swept in on a breeze of expensive perfume and entitlement. Margaret Ashworth. The society magazines knew her well. She was a permanent fixture at charity banquets and polished photo ops beside her husband's fortune. Vicky, dear, the guests are starting to arrive. Then her gaze found me, measured, precise. And this must be Michael's mother. The pause was as pointed as a dagger coated in sugar. Mrs. Ashworth, I said serenely. Lovely venue. The renovations really brought the old architecture back to life. Yes, well, she said dismissively, waving a jeweled hand. The new owners seem to have spared no expense, though I preferred the previous management. They understood our standards. I smiled faintly, remembering just how desperately the previous management had begged me to buy their failing property. They'd looked right past the quiet Asian woman in the boardroom, not realizing she'd be signing the deed before lunch. Mother, Victoria interjected sweetly, shouldn't we go over the seating arrangement? Especially given certain situations? Her mother's answering smile was frost wrapped in velvet. Of course. Mrs. Chen, dear, we've arranged a comfortable place for you in the private dining room, with the staff. You'll be more relaxed there. How thoughtful, I murmured, glancing at the clock face of my watch. A subtle Patek Philippe, whose value could have covered their entire event bill twice over. Mom? Michael's voice cut through the kitchen hum. He approached looking far too handsome and uncomfortable for his own good. Every inch the investment banker, perfect tie, calm eyes, except I still remembered the nervous young man I'd quietly gifted startup capital to on his 21st birthday. Darling. Victoria brightened instantly. I was just helping your mother find her seat. In the kitchen, Vic? He asked evenly. We already talked about this. It's fine, I said, resting a hand on his sleeve before he could continue. I'm quite comfortable here. Margaret's expression stiffened. Yes, well, given your background, we thought you might prefer something less formal. A flicker of amusement passed through me. Background. Such a convenient word to hide classism behind. Michael caught my eye and saw the look that once made full boardrooms of executives rethink their tone. He stayed silent, wisely. I think, I said softly. It's time to focus on the party. The guests are waiting. Right on cue, the elevator chimed open, releasing a polished wave of New York's elite. Perfume, diamonds, laughter, and more ambition than warmth. Margaret and Victoria glided forward to play hostess, their practiced smiles a perfect performance of charm that never quite reached their eyes. "Mom," Michael muttered under his breath. "You don't have to stand for this. Just one word and do what?" I adjusted his tie. "Tell them the help they're trying so hard to keep invisible owns the building?" I smiled. "Where's the fun in that?" He tried not to laugh. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" "Immensely," I whispered. "Now go be the ideal future son-in-law." While the party swelled around crystal chandeliers and whispering applause, I lingered by the doorway, observing. Theodore Ashworth, the patriarch, stood in the middle of a circle of old money, boasting too loudly about investments he didn't understand. Margaret drifted through the crowd like a traffic officer at a debutante ball, steering any attractive young woman far away from her daughter's fiancé. Victoria floated from conversation to conversation, her laughter a touch too sharp, her eyes flicking toward the kitchen every few minutes, as if she feared her unwanted mother-in-law might escape her assigned corner. "More champagne, ma'am?" The same kind young server from earlier appeared beside me, tray balanced with precision. "Thank you, Claire." I read her name tag. "How long have you worked here?" 3 years, she said, though we're all nervous about what the new owners might change. "Change can be good," I said. "For instance, better benefits and stricter rules against guests mistreating staff." She blinked. "Oh, you sound like you've heard something." "You could say that," I replied, just as Theodore's booming voice sliced through the music. "And where is the mother of the groom hiding? Surely she's not too intimidated to join us." The chatter quieted instantly. Victoria's smile froze. Margaret's color drained. I stepped from the shadows, flute of champagne in hand. "Not intimidated at all, Mr. Ashworth," I said pleasantly. "Just admiring your daughter's very good taste in venues." "Ah, there you are." He was red-faced from expensive scotch. "Tell me, what do you think of all this splendor? A bit of a step up from your usual surroundings, The silence that followed was almost theatrical. Even Michael kept his eyes steady, recognizing the expression that usually preceded corporate bloodshed. "Actually," I said, sipping slowly, "I find the penthouse quite comfortable, though the East Wing renovation is running a few weeks behind schedule. Something about permit delays, if I recall." His smile faltered. "How would you know about that?" "Oh," I said gently, "the same way I know about the pending health code violations your caterer hasn't reported, the overtime dispute among kitchen staff, or the fact that your last payment to the hotel bounced." The room inhaled. Margaret stepped forward quickly, pale and rattled. "Who exactly are you?" I smiled, every ounce of corporate poise sharpened into quiet power. "Just the help, Mrs. Ashworth. Though some prefer to call me Jessica Chen, CEO of Global Hospitality Holdings." I tilted the glass in her direction. "But tonight you can simply call me your new landlord." The crystal slipped from her hand and shattered on the marble floor, echoing perfectly through the stunned silence. Victoria's flawless complexion turned snow-white. Margaret looked physically ill. Theodore's mouth opened, closed, then stammered. That's impossible. Global Hospitality belongs to JC Holdings." "Indeed," I said smoothly. "JC Holdings. Jessica Chen Holdings. I do enjoy a little anonymity. It keeps people honest." Michael stepped closer now, a barely hidden grin tugging at his lips. "Should I mention the other properties, Mom? The country club, for example? Or the marina where they hide their yacht?" "Michael!" Victoria's voice cracked like glass. "You knew? You knew this whole time?" "Of course he knew," I said, tone soft as silk but cutting nonetheless. "Though I must admit, watching you try to tuck his embarrassing mother away in the kitchen has been enlightening, especially considering your Windsor Club membership renewal is due next month." Margaret clutched her husband's arm. "Theodore, do something!" "Yes, Theodore," I echoed, enjoying the strain in her posture. "Do something. Perhaps start by explaining why your last 3 payments to this hotel bounced. Or shall we talk about your more creative bookkeeping? Phones were already out. recording discreetly, eyes gleaming. Tomorrow's gossip columns would eat well. You can't just... Theodore began. Actually, I can, I interrupted. It's my hotel. I turned to Claire, the young server. Please let the kitchen know the staff are all receiving double pay tonight, and an extra bonus for putting up with the hosts. Her surprised smile was the best part of the evening. Victoria broke then, mascara catching at the edge of her lashes. Michael, please. I didn't know. I swear I didn't. Michael's gaze hardened. Didn't know what? That you'd have looked down on my mother if she'd stayed poor? That you'd have treated her like royalty only if she was rich? That's not better, Vic. It's worse. Perhaps, I said evenly, setting my empty flute on a tray. This conversation would be better somewhere private. Unless, of course, you prefer to continue trending online. The Ashworths followed, defeated, into the private dining room, the one they'd so generously reserved for me with the staff. That irony alone was enough to make my evening sparkle. The doors closed behind us. Silence fell thick. What do you want? Theodore asked roughly. Money? A position on the board? I laughed softly, a sound both elegant and cutting. Mr. Ashworth, I own controlling interest in 3 hotel chains, 2 airlines, and that particular country club you brag about so often. Tell me, what could you offer me? Margaret's mask finally cracked, her voice trembling. Then why? Why do this? Why even come here? Why, let us humiliate ourselves, because you needed to learn a lesson about judgment, about treating people like they're beneath you. I met Victoria's eyes about thinking wealth equals worth. I love Michael, Victoria whispered. This isn't about money. No, I raised an eyebrow. So you would have proudly introduced his immigrant mother to your friends. See, the cleaning lady who raised him at the main table posted photos with the woman who worked 3 jobs to put him through school. She looked away, answering my question without words. The irony, Michael said quietly, is that Mom hasn't cleaned houses in 20 years. But if she had, I'd still be proud to be her son. She taught me that real class has nothing to do with money and everything to do with how you treat people. Theodore collapsed into a chair, his face ashen. The membership renewals, the hotel accounts will be reviewed, I finished, along with every interaction your family has had with my staff. I take employee welfare very seriously, Mr. Ashworth. We can't explain, Margaret began. I'm sure you can. You can explain why you bounce checks while spending thousands on designer clothes. Why you abuse service workers while pretending to be philanthropists. I checked my watch. You have 2 choices. Either I announce the termination of your memberships and privileges at all my properties very publicly right now, or Victoria whispered, or you spend the next year proving you can change starting with tonight. Go back out there and personally apologize to every staff member you've mistreated. Set up a foundation with your own money, not mine, to support service industry workers' education. Show me you learned something tonight besides the fact that you underestimated the wrong woman. Michael stepped forward and my engagement. I watched Victoria's face crumple. For the first time, I saw something real crack through her perfect facade. That I said softly, is between you and the woman who thought your mother wasn't good enough to sit with her guests. Victoria surprised me then. She straightened her spine, wiped her eyes, and turned to Michael. I don't deserve you, either of you. But if you let me, I'd like to try to earn your respect. Starting with helping in that kitchen I was so ashamed of. Margaret gasped. Victoria. No, Mother. Victoria's voice strengthened. We've been wrong. So wrong, and I want to make it right. Study her face, seeing perhaps the first genuine expression she'd worn all night. Well, then shall we return to the party? I believe you have some apologies to make. As the Ashworths filed out, thoroughly chastened, Michael caught my arm. You knew this would happen. You let them dig their own grave. Sometimes, I said, straightening Histy again. People need to see themselves clearly before they can change. Your Victoria might have potential after all. If she proves she can change, he said firmly. If she proves she can change, I agreed. Now, shall we go watch the Great Ashworth Apology Tour? The transformation of the Ashworths over the next hour was better than any corporate takeover I'd ever orchestrated. Victoria, her designer dress now protected by a kitchen apron, worked alongside the staff she terrorized earlier. Margaret Ashworth, looking slightly dazed, personally served hors d'oeuvres to shocked guests, and Theodore, his face still ashen, wrote personal checks to cover his bounced payments with substantial additional gratuities. Your mother, an elderly socialite, whispered to Michael, is absolutely brilliant. We've all wanted to teach the Ashworths a lesson for years. The society pages would have a field day. Hotel Q and REUVLIDEIT. I access someone's engagement party work at F. MYQMBLE, but it was Claire, the kind server from earlier, who truly captured the moment's importance, Chen. She approached me nervously, the staff. We wanted you to know we've worked dozens of these parties, serve hundreds of wealthy people. You're the first one who ever saw us as human beings. It touched her arm room gently. That's because I've been where you are. 25 years ago, I was cleaning hotel rooms while getting my business degree. Never let anyone make you feel small because of how you earn your living. Victoria peered beside us, her perfect hair now slightly mussed. I've been horrible, haven't I? Self-awareness is a good first step, I replied. What matters is what you do next. She squared her shoulders. I'd like to start by funding scholarships for staff members who want to further their education. If he'll help me set it up properly. I saw Michael watching us, his expression thoughtful. Perhaps his instincts about her weren't entirely wrong. First, I said, you'll spend 1 month working in this hotel, not playing a being staff for an hour, but really working. Early mornings, late nights, difficult guests. Then we'll talk about scholarships. To her credit, she didn't hesitate. When do I start? Tomorrow. 5 a.m. Wear comfortable shoes. As Victoria hurried off to tell her shell-shocked parents about her new job, Michael joined me. You're going to make her work as hotel staff. I'm going to give her the education she desperately needs. I watched Margaret Ashworth awkwardly refill water glasses. Sometimes the best way to learn empathy is to walk in someone else's shoes, and her parents will have their own lessons to learn. Ismailid, starting with a complete audit of their financial dealings with my properties. Bounce checks are just the beginning, I suspect. The party wound down, the guests departing with juicy gossip to spread across men-Hyanzalite circles. Victoria had traded her designer heels for sensible flats borrowed from the kitchen staff, her perfectly manicured hands now slightly disheveled from actual work. Ms. Chen, she approached us. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I promise you, I'm going to earn my place in your family, not because of your money or position, but because your son deserves someone who understands what really matters. I studied her face, seeing genuine determination beneath the smeared makeup. You know, Victoria, 25 years ago, another society family looked down on me, said I wasn't good enough for their world. What happened to them? I bought their company, renamed it, and turned it into the foundation of my empire. I smiled, but more importantly, I never became them. Remember that during your month of training? As well as the hotel? Michael asked quietly. Did you plan this all along? Letting them think you were the help. Sometimes, the best way to know someone's true character is to let them think they have the upper hand. I patted his cheek. Your Victoria might surprise us all. She's the first Ashworth to ever offer to actually work, and if she fails, then she fails. But at least she'll fail trying to be better. I looked back at the hotel, remembering the young woman who'd once cleaned these rooms while dreaming of vomiting them. You know, son, sometimes the best revenge isn't showing people how powerful you are. It's teaching them why they were wrong to abuse that power in the first place. Michael hugged me tightly. You're amazing, Mom. Thank you for letting me learn this lesson along with them. That's what mothers do, I said simply. We clean up messes, teach hard lessons, and occasionally buy a hotel chain, or it will. Now shall we get dinner? I know a lovely little place. I just bought it last.